And what's happening out there, guys? Welcome along to another episode of 420 News. It is Fri-High-Day. I hope you're all good out there, guys. Hope you're all got that Friday feeling going on, guys. Yeah, I got that Friday feeling going. Just packing up some bud here into the grinder. Don't know if you can see that there. Will my camera focus on it? No, it's too busy focusing on me face. Focus, goddamn you. Trust me, it's a good quality bud anyway. So guys, welcome along anyway. It's another episode of 420 News brought to you by myself, Martin Condon, and Martin's World. And before we get stuck into the news, guys, I'd like to just take a second to thank today's sponsor of the show, which is R420.ie, R420 Supplies. Head over to r420.ie for all your cannabis accessories that you need, all your smoking supplies. They've got some really cool street apparel. I'm really liking the hoodies. Was checking them out there again earlier. I must get an order in. They got some bongs up there as well. They got some really cool rolling trays, grinders, you name it, they got it. And as I say, if they don't got it, I'm sure they'll probably go out of their way to get it for you. So do check them out and let them know that Martin's World sent you over there, guys, if you do get an order in with them. So yeah, that's my thank you there to r420.ie. And also, guys, a quick update on day 28 of the 420 kilometer challenge. Managed to get out there earlier on today, so the legs are a bit bait at the moment, but to be fair, I'm feeling super fresh. I really feel great after all these runs, and I hope I'm able to keep it up now afterwards. As I do say, on the 7th of June, we will be back in the gym, able to teach a little bit of Thai boxing and stuff like that. So at least I'll have that extra bit of activity there to keep me nice and fit and healthy. Certainly something I was missing since the start of this bloody lockdown. But again, guys, the money being raised here is for the Laura Lynn Children's Hospice, and so far today we've raised over €800, so thanks very much to everybody who's got a donation in there for us. Much appreciated, guys. Also, during the month, we've been continuing to raise awarenesses to the needs for access to medical cannabis here in Ireland. So thanks everybody who's shared and commented, liked, and all of those things on those posts. So we've got a bowl packed up here, ready to go, guys. Clean enough old bong today. We'll blaze this one up now. 420 civil disobedience protest, guys. Hope you're taking part in the protest out there with me, guys. So blaze it on up. Tasty. See the comments flowing all in there, guys. Nice one for all the comments. Shout out there to the Podge, to Russell, to Shine in a Bucket, what's happening. Peter Kelly, Monshore, Hype TCK, Peter, what's happening out there. And Alter Ego also getting in there as well. Legends, lads, nice one for all the comments. I'm doing really good, so thanks very much for asking. And Podge, what's happening, Podge, with the super chat there? Much appreciated, Podge. You're a legend. He says, happy high day. He says, I've court Monday. Hit that like button. What are you up in court Monday for, Podge? Is it over our friendly herb there? It'd be interesting to know. Hopefully it's nothing too serious anyway. Maybe simple case of possession there for yourself. Hopefully anyway, hopefully it's nothing serious, Podge. What's happening in Casas? That's Drogas as well. He says, Martin's World, your fine of €400 was not proportionate to possessing €10 worth of cannabis. And yeah, nice one for bringing that up there, guys. Casas Drogas. An update, I suppose, on my own court case. I was caught with €10 worth of cannabis back in April 2019. I was back up in court for that then, September 2020. That went on until the end of November, I believe it was, and I got fined €400 and given a criminal conviction. I then appealed that criminal conviction and €400 fine, which I was up in court for 2 weeks ago. And going into that court case 2 weeks ago, the court was jammed, crowded. Like I didn't feel safe inside it at all. We've got COVID guidelines in place to keep us safe. I feel that they weren't being adhered to inside in the court when I brought it up with a member of the Gardaí, they were unwilling to engage with my complaint that I was lodging with them. So therefore I felt, unsafe and had no choice but to leave. So therefore the court case went ahead in my absence, and as I updated there on my page earlier today, I received again the €400 fine and the criminal conviction. Now I believe I can still lodge another appeal against that up to a higher court, but I think I will start incurring fees then at that point. I don't know enough about bringing a case up to the next court, which would be the High Court for myself, as that was just after being seen there now in the Circuit Court. So again, I think my only protest from here on out now is non-participation. I'm not going to be paying that fine, and I'm not going to be handing myself in for any bench warrants that will be handed out with my name on them. I will, however, remain a public voice out there fighting for the undoing of these silly bloody laws. That fine isn't due to be paid until September, so I've been given like 3 months or something like that to pay it. But to be honest, if they gave me 3 years to pay it, I still wouldn't be paying it. The principle of the matter stands. This is a violation of my human rights. That cannabis that was taken off me was stolen from me by the Gardaí, and I will not pay the Gardaí for the privilege of them stealing my cannabis from me. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight for my rights, as every one of us should be doing out there if we find ourselves in front of the law for silly cannabis charges. We should not make it easy for them at all. Challenge it every way, every step of the way. And certainly, yeah, nice one, Podge. I'll certainly be safe, that's for sure. But like that, like, call their bluff. Like, if they want to put a bench warrant out for me to bring me to prison, so they're going to pay me to go into prison. Like, rather me pay them €400, they're going to put me up for however many nights in Cork prison. I got a gym, I got 3 hot meals a day. Do you know what I mean? There's pensioners out there come winter time who would only be happy with that kind of a service. Do you know, they even have a community of people up there that they can socialise with. Geez, that's a very threatening punishment for my use of cannabis. Like, very, very well done to him. But yeah, nice one there for that anyway, Podge. And best of luck with your court case on Monday, as I say, man. Yeah, it's not serious, you say, and hopefully you get your license back. Did they take your driving license off you, man? What a kick in the nuts, man. And Shining on a Bucket saying, where are they going with their €400? €400 fine for a €10 cannabis charge. Quite ridiculous. I reckon if it was €50 worth of cannabis, it would have been still €400. €5 worth of cannabis, most likely still €400 charge. So it is. It's ridiculous. It's extortionate, and it is extortion. You know what I mean? You're paying them for your freedom. You go in there, you hand over €400, and all of a sudden, like, you can go free now. You no longer need to go to prison. Why did I need to go to prison in the first place? Hang on a second. Like, well, why am I paying for my freedom? Are we giving this to the other criminals? Like, this is messed up. That's such a backwards fucking system, like. But we'll drive on, guys. And nice one again, everybody, for your comments coming in. Much appreciated. Podge says here, we all need to fight for our rights, like my forefathers fought for us. 100%, guys. Get out. Just remember, like, this is a fight for your rights. So we drive on. The first headline of today's 420 news, guys, is coming from Judge Sean O'Donovan, or my buddy Judge Sean O'Donovan up. He had this to say. He called this guy the head honcho here, who was caught with 6.8 thousand worth of cannabis in a gear bag. And this individual, a young man, not named actually, and no age actually given, just referred to as a young man. or sorry, actually, there was a name actually given. It was Robert Sweetnam, and he labelled him the honcho, as when he was caught back in 2019, he was caught with a gear bag with some cannabis in it that was worth 6.8 thousand euro worth of cannabis, or worth of an euro. And he was up in the courts there, where he was caught also last July with another small amount of cannabis, just enough for his own personal use. Now, the guy hasn't ever been in trouble with the Gardaí for anything else. Even since getting caught with cannabis last July, he hasn't been in trouble with the Gardaí for anything else. Despite this, Judge Sean O'Donovan saw it fit that he keep this individual now remanded in custody. Yeah, so this guy now is up there in, I don't know, is it Cork City Jail, Cork City Prison, up there in the 5-star suite. Absolutely ridiculous. Me and you are paying for this. This individual is no threat at all to anybody out there. His only crime was he was caught with some cannabis herb. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm not happy with my taxpayers' money being used in such a way. I'm not happy with our prison services be used in such a way. Meanwhile, like, there's rapists and murderers, thieves out there getting suspended sentences and slaps on the wrists, and then we're handing out sentences, holding this guy in custody. It's ridiculous. He even went and actually provided a clean urine analysis sample. And the judge was still like, no, sorry, you didn't learn your lesson. You got caught with 6,800 worth of cannabis there last November, in 2019, and then in July 2020 you're getting caught with cannabis again, and for that reason the judge remanded him in custody. Horrible, man, horrible. Like, I mean, we see cases up there where Judge Sean O'Donovan handed down pretty lenient sentences to people who were out there committing vile acts, like horrific acts. The guy who got caught with the crowbar after sending some very disturbing messages to the woman below on Youghal who he used to work with, and he got off with like a 4-year sentence or something like that, like, or was it a 3-year sentence, 5 years with 2 suspended, some shit like that. The guy literally had a crowbar, rope, like, and he threatened to rape and murder the woman and her daughter in the house that they were living in. He was caught outside of the house with these implements, and he got like a 3-year suspended sentence, or 3-year sentence with 2 years suspended, or some shit like that. Horrible, like, horrible. This guy's going to be back up in court now on the 7th of June, I believe, when he's going to be back up for sentencing. Horrible. Like, he could get a couple of years here effectively for this, depending on what way Judge Sean O'Donovan is feeling on the day. And we all know out there, like, at least the viewers of this show know that he's a horn for fucking cannabis consumers. Like, he loves to go after cannabis consumers for some reason. Like, he just goes after them. He really paints them in such a negative way. So there's a very biased way in which this guy operates, and it's horrible. And as I say, he seems to show more favour towards disturbed individuals who go out and commit horrific acts, who actually are a threat to other people out there. But we drive on because, and in other news, down in Killarney in County Kerry, over €20,000 worth of cannabis was seized. A lot of the cannabis was actually bagged up and ready to be sold here, when the cops swooped in on an apartment in an area of Killarney. Where was this? In a property on the Park Road in Killarney. Yeah, this was at about 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening. And during the course of the search, almost €20,000 worth of cannabis, which had been split into multiple bags, was discovered by the Gardai. No arrests, however, were made at the scene. Interesting, you know what I mean? People got off with this. I don't know, has anybody been brought into custody? But if there hasn't, you can be sure now there is multiple Gardai above there in Kerry and maybe in Killarney, actively out trying to figure out who is behind this, like whose cannabis was this, like, let's go get them. And meanwhile, like, there's a murderer, a rapist, a thief out there, a child molester, walking around with nobody actively looking for them, we need to be more proactive to catch those violent, despicable criminals in our society. And we need to be doing nothing about people who actually tried to sell a bit of cannabis. In fact, that should be a legal industry set up. There's shame on the government for making it prohibited in the first place, and making our Gardai so inefficient and our streets so fucking dangerous. That the gangs are so bloody dangerous these days, like, that they're really getting more and more violent. And as the country becomes more diversified, if you will, we've gotten more Eastern European gangs. I suppose that's when things really started kicking off here a lot more. They came over here and they were willing to kind of engage in a bit more violence, I suppose, because I suppose they could just hop in a plane and fuck off back home when shit gets hot over here, whereas our own homegrown criminals, if you will, they were less, it was less easy for them to get up and go, so they were less likely to engage in some of the more extreme violence that we've seen in more recent years. But that's all changing now, you know, as the other crime gangs increase their violence. Well, our homegrown gangs have to also increase in their violence too. We all seen like the shit that happened above there in Dublin during the week, where there was a dude opened fire on the cops above there. Like, you know, they're getting a taste of this silly war on drugs that they're waging on our streets. Like, we don't need to play these games. They're childish games. The prohibition of drugs is a childish piece of fucking policy thought up by a bunch of corrupt individuals. Pad Whelan, what's happening, Pad? He says, or Pad just sent in an old super chat there. Much appreciated. What's it saying? Director's chair with the words on set. Hopefully those images are popping up for you there out on YouTube anyway, where that's coming in from. I'm not seeing them here on on Streamlabs. Hopefully Streamlabs might get that sorted for me in future. But again, look, 20 grand's worth of cannabis going to be destroyed. You know, an individual down there who could have created jobs in the community, could have been selling quality assured product to consenting adults out there, where there was an age limit in place. But unfortunately, because of our childish policies, because of this view of forcing abstinence on people, this was being sold by what is referred to as a drug dealer who could have been possibly part of an organised crime gang. Well done, ye prohibitionists. Great job. We'll drive on, guys, because in other news, there is a repeating of the warnings around cannabis jellies after it was confirmed in an article that was up on the Echo Live page, where it was talking about the 2 teenagers in Cork who were hospitalised there earlier in the year. It was a story that I mentioned. It was doing the rounds on Facebook at the time, where 2 teenagers below in East Cork were rushed off the hospital. But it's since now been confirmed that yes, 2 teenagers were hospitalised back in I think it was like February or April there, and there was cannabis jellies implicated at it. So again, you know, this is a massive failure because of the war on drugs, because, you know, these jellies, the biggest danger here with these is most likely those jellies didn't actually contain THC. Most likely, they probably contained a synthetic cannabinoid, one of the K2, you know, that U444001HRZ2, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Big long fucking chemical chain numbers, like not shit you want to be actually consuming. If these kids below there in East Cork actually maybe got jellies that actually contained cannabis oil, maybe they wouldn't have experienced what they experienced. Now, I've tried this stuff before. I didn't try it in an edible form. I've tried it from Mad when I bought it maybe, geez, how long, about 8 years ago now it was when I tried this stuff, maybe even 10 years ago. King Triple B it was called. And whoa, scary, honest to God, that's the only way to describe it, just scary. It was not what I was expecting at all, nowhere near replicated the effects of cannabis. So I would hate to think what would happen should you ingest this stuff and you ingest too much of it as well. Scary. Like when I ingested it, I just packed up a bowl of me bong, packed up a bowl. I only smoked like half of the bowl as well. I didn't even hit all of it. And I felt it instantly. It was just like, whoa, a straight rush to the head. Dangerous stuff, like very dangerous stuff. If we put proper regulations in place, not only would it be a bit more difficult for kids to get their hands on it because it would be sold behind a counter where there would be an ID required, but at least then if they did get their hands on it, they could be assured that yes, this is a cannabis extracted product. No, it is not going to be a synthetic cannabinoid. Because why would a person sell a synthetic cannabinoid like as THC? Why risk your license and stuff like that in a legal market? So again, you know, and this is echoed then. This is not only coming from Ireland, and these are the jellies there. I'll make it a bit bigger so you can see that. Like, but these are the stoner patch dummies that's going around the place, and you see the old gummy bear there, and he's got an old spliff in his mouth. and you can buy these packs on Wish. Like, you could literally go on to the Wish and you could buy these packs, and then there's nothing stopping you at all from going home, you know, with these packs, making your little jello mold, going down to Dunn's, buying the old pack of gelatin that you add in hot water, and then in the hot water you're just mixing in some chemical you buy in from China or from wherever, you know, and you get it super cheap, and you put it into this package. So a process that might only cost you about €1, let's say, not even, let's say 50 cent to put these jellies into that packet. You now could go and sell those for what, for €30 on the street they're getting, I'd say, for these packs, maybe even €50 some places they're getting. So it's a very lucrative market. There's a big incentive there to be very dishonest and sell products, because look, it's a pump and dump, you know. Pump a bit of money in there, get a synthetic chemicals, just dump all the products on the market and make a fast bit of cash and drive on. So what are you risking? You've no reputation. It's not as if you've got a brand or anything. Like these, as I said, this is bought off of wish.com or whatever it is. You can win them mad in town there not too long ago, and you were able to buy these kind of packs as well. So again, be very careful out there, guys, as to what you're buying. Like, DIY is the only way, really, in my eyes, that you can assure the quality of what you're making, or at least knowing the person who makes it, you know, get as close to the source as possible. Otherwise you risk being ripped off, or, you know, worse, like consuming a fucking adulterated product that could effectively take your life, like, you know. And Podge, legend again there for another super chat. He says, be very careful with synthetic manufactured stuff. 100%, guys. You can't be too careful out there. And the best way we can be careful, I suppose, really is, as some of the comments, Casa Straga says, grow your own. But it's the government need to step in. The government, like outside of us, the next layer of protection then should be the government. The government should be putting in protections, as they do for the consumers of any other product out there. If you go to a shop, if you buy any product from that shop, you are protected as a consumer. Same needs to be applied here. End this silly bloody war on drugs. Because this is not only isolated incident either to Ireland. Like this is over in the UK too, where this is a headline coming from the UK, and as you see, it's a very recent one, 28th of May there, which is today. So this is, I don't know, is it a part of a campaign there to spread fear around these products or what? But one thing I like about this headline actually is it says with no quality control. I think that's the most important part of this, like, is that there is no quality control. And you could go on and say, like, you know, no age limits and blah, blah, blah. But I think, like, no, that got it beautifully, with no quality control. Like, that's the biggest way in which we can protect people out there, is by providing a quality control through regulations. Do you know, the products there, as you see them, like, you know, again, Stoner Patch here, like the watermelon brand now. And another common one, I actually tried these runts ones myself. A buddy of mine actually had them. And I believe the ones he got actually were watermelon flavoured runts, if my memory serves correct. But like, there's no protection there. Like, it says 500 milligrams, but as I said, like, you just don't know. A dude could just have, like, made these himself at home, stuck them in the pack, like, and off out they go, and you get ripped off. Luckily enough, I knew the source that these were coming from, so I was somewhat assured as to the quality of them. But crazy, like here in this article, they talk about kids, you know, again, the age 12 and 13, 4 of them vomited and fell in and out of consciousness after consuming the sweets, which contained chemicals such as THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. But it's unknown actually if they contained THC. They're only going by what it said on the package. There wasn't any tests actually being done here in this, so they're just assuming that the package was actually honest. But again, yeah, definitely, if these kids weren't tolerant to the effects of edibles, then very possible, yeah, they could fall ill to them. I've definitely pulled a whitey myself in the past. Like, I'm sure many of you out there have pulled whiteys and greenies, call it what you will. But guess what? You get better. You survive. You pull on through. And to be honest, like, even with all of these headlines, no kids have died. Like, even the 3 and a 4-year-old in Dublin, was it 2 weeks ago there? None of them died. None of these kids are dying. If they were dying, man, you would see the headlines like, oh, kids die after consuming cannabis jellies. Like, it would be banging out like 5 days a week. They would be repeating it for a couple of weeks, I'd say. They wouldn't stop about it. They'd be all getting right behind it, but none of them are dying. They're all being admitted to hospital. They're falling in and out of consciousness. No, they're falling asleep. So they're stoned. That's an effect of cannabis. Okay, it makes you sleepy. Fair enough. Like, we know that's a side effect of cannabis, but this is a side effect often that's actually cannabis is sought out for. You know, everything comes down to the individual who's using it and how they're using it. If it's a kid, yeah, of course it's going to have effect. They've got smaller bodies. Kids shouldn't have access to cannabis unless they need it for therapeutic reasons. That's not what we're here for. Like, I'm calling all the time for age limits to be put in place so we can protect kids. But again, you know, of course there's going to be side effects if they do get it, but it's better that they get it from a bloody regulated market, and we create jobs and protect consumers and all of the likes. So we drive on from there, guys, because the Garda spokesperson actually in that article, they said Garda Síochána would like again warn the public about the dangers of cannabis jellies and the risk they pose, particularly where a child were to eat them. The packaging is very similar to other confectionaries and can be easily mistaken. Well, why don't the Garda Síochána ever turn around and give a warning to the government? Say, hey, government, we're also equally warning ye that we're powerless here to prevent the delivery of these type of products to the streets, so therefore kids are at risk of eating them. You know? Do you know, surely that would be a much better warning to be given to the government and say, hey, put an age limit in place there, because look, we're not seeing kids out there regularly ingesting, you know, alcohol, even though that probably does go on. But at least it's not coming from organised crime gangs. Right, so we drive on, guys, because while we go from kids eating jellies, now we're going to a grown man eating jellies, and this grown man who is eating the jellies had to educate the judge a little bit. At least the judge was requesting some education here in this court case. But this was a case of a 28-year-old man above in Newbridge, County Dublin, who was caught in possession of €100 worth of cannabis herb and €120 worth of its jellied iteration. And this was at his home last October 2020. So €100 worth of cannabis herb, guys, that's about 5 grams of cannabis, and €120 worth of its jellied iteration, as they're saying here. I'd imagine that's about like 2 or 3 packets of jellies, possibly. Like, I'm not too sure, to be exact, actually, how they value jellies, so don't hold me to how many jellies or packs he actually got caught with. But the judge made a few weird old comments. He says, the judge, Desmond Zidane, says the levels people are stooping to get people hooked on this stuff is ridiculous. So again, the levels people are stooping to get people hooked into stuff. In fairness, like, there's very little people out there actually getting hooked on cannabis jellies. Like, if there's a person buying cannabis jellies, like, you're not getting hooked in it. You're getting it because, you know, maybe you're getting together with the lads for a game of poker at the weekend, you know, or maybe you're chilling out with the missus, you know, and on Netflix and chill or something like that. Who knows what the reason is? But, like, really, is there people out there actually getting hooked on this shit? Like, and no, they're not stooping to this level to get people hooked in it. This is what the consumers are demanding. There's a demand there for this product because we as cannabis consumers are looking out at other markets, more liberal markets such as America, where consumers are able to walk into a shop and buy products such as these. Horrible, like, you know, of course, and once we're seeing this over there, that we would like that here. And guess what? Organised crime gangs, they're willing to step up to the market to fill the gap in the market that's created because of your prohibition. The judge then asks the individual, he says, where do you buy the cannabis jellies? At what shop? And the defendant replies that I can't really tell you, it's not a shop at all. The judge then says, how do you know about the jellies? Teach me something. Like, in fairness, like, teach him something. Hang on there now a second, like, judge. This man was brought to court to face a charge from you. He's not there to educate you at all. In fact, like, you should be going and getting yourself educated as to the uses of cannabis out there, so you could show a bit more compassion to people who find themselves in front of you. Because this individual, while he didn't refuse the opportunity to educate the judge, he said, I was told by someone that this was easier than taking tablets for the pain, said the defendant. But some people go psychotic on this stuff. They can go mad, warned the judge. But that's ludicrous. Like, in fairness, like, people can go mad on alcohol. Or is the judge out there calling for the prohibition of alcohol? No, he is not. The judge also adds more comments saying, do you not see the moral of the story? The person who supplied you is out there picking new victims, said the judge. In fairness, the only victim I see here is the man, and the perpetrator of his victimization is the judge. The judge is creating a victim here. He is punishing a man, and the man's crime was going out there to try to seek what he's seen as a less, I don't know what he meant by easier than taking tablets. Did he mean a less harmful? Because some of these tablets that you could be prescribed for pain can be also quite addictive, but not only addictive, but quite a toxic towards the individual. So should it not be individual's choice to choose a more natural means of treating their pain? And it's unfortunate that cannabis remains illegal and out of access to patients, because we've been hearing about it now for the last fucking 10 or 15 years as to the medical benefits of cannabis. Of course people are going out there now to the criminals getting access to it. Of course that's going to happen. And shame on this judge, shame on Judge Desmond Zidane for victimizing this individual further. The defendant actually went and apologised to the judge, but in fact it should be the judge apologising to him, because this man now is back taking legal tablets. And the judge, guess what the judge said when the man said that? He says, I'm glad you qualified that. So now the judge is happy that this individual is off of one form of medication and on another form of medication. What qualifies this judge to be able to differentiate between what is a more effective medication or not? Now, this judge is only there to do his job, which is, uphold the law. But this man is coming before him saying, hey, I'm treating my pain. This judge should say, oh, you're treating your pain. Well, pain, actually, yeah, you should be able to treat your pain. Sure, that's like a fundamental right. If you're in pain, you should be able to treat that. What's going on here? You're using cannabis, so this helps you. Okay, oh yeah, and there's a medical cannabis access program. Okay. And why isn't paying on that when it helps you? Okay, why isn't the judge asking this fucking question and bringing in our bloody Minister for Health, right, who is current there, and the past ones, and fucking making criminals out of them for their inaction in providing an effective bloody remedy for these patients in means of getting effective access to this bloody cannabis medicine? Horrible, like. And what did the judge do? He says not only is he glad that the man is back taking legal tablets, he asked him for a €650 donation to be made before the 17th of June in order for the man to be given the benefit of the Probation Act. Horrible, guys. This is horrible shit. Like, whoever this individual is out there, they don't give your name here in this court case, but it says it's a 28-year-old man above in Newbridge. Get in touch, man, because that's shameful stuff that's after being done to you. You're after being forced, your hand is after being forced through threats from the state where they were threatening to take away your freedom, you know what I mean? You were brought to court there to face criminal charges where there was a possibility you could end up in prison. That was always a possibility. That was what's hanging over your head. And they forced you back on to take their prescribed medication, taking away your bodily integrity, your bodily autonomy, the integrity of your own body to choose how you take care of it. Like, your choice of medicine should be no business of the government's at all. Cannabis is shown to be time and time again an effective way of treating pain. I talked about the company there, was it Oxford Cannabinoid Technologies, and they're listing now on the London Stock Exchange. That they're poised to be worth like multiple millions of pounds once they get up there. Guess what their product is? Cannabinoids for pain. Like, what in the name of God are we doing here? In fairness, like, there's companies out there, they're setting themselves up to make millions of euro to sell a product to patients, where on the other hand you've judges criminalizing patients for the exact same thing. We have such a sick society right now, and this is just so backwards. Because as I say, while we've companies out there poised to make millions, we've other companies out there who also are set to make loads of money off the back of some of the products they're going to release. But one of these companies, Australis Capital, they've touted a new study that shows medical cannabis can reduce opioid use. And this has been shown through numerous studies in the past where they were looking at population studies, and the prescription of opioids, where in states that medical cannabis access was available, the opioid prescription was lowered. And legend there must always, man, free the weed, yes. But this particular study went one further, and it actually incorporated a very large cohort of patients who'd been actively prescribed cannabis to treat their pain, but also people who were described as heavy consumers of opioids. So people who were described as heavy users of opioids were successful in reducing their dependency on opioids for pain management through access to medical cannabis. That's amazing. That's amazing, given that over in America, and this is coming out of Alberta, actually, Alberta, Texas, I think that is. Alberta is in Texas, I think, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm just going to Google that there now. Alberta, Texas. Come on. Oh, it's Canada, actually. Jeez, markers, man. My geography is all over the gaff. I'm glad I Googled that one there now to correct myself. But this comes out of Alberta. So where basically they were able to show that these people who had a high dependency on opioids for their pain management were successfully able to reduce that. Now, this is amazing because lifelong use of opioid type drugs actually can be bad for the body. They can lead to the breakdown of different kind of systems in the body because they're not really great. That they're out of tune in the way in which we should be using opioids. Opioids, if we were to use them correctly, we would be using, much like I would be promoting the use of cannabis, and that's full plant. You look at where do opioids come from? Well, you look at things like opium. Full spectrum opioid extracts, they could be more beneficial. No, that's not to say that you can't be using these much stronger pharmaceutical kind of grade drugs, but definitely I do think that we're misusing even opioids by putting them into this, and the market would love to see cannabis head that way, where you can only go in and buy THC, you can only go in and buy CBD, or you can't actually get access to full plant extracts and things like that. Crazy. So again, this study here showing that yes, cannabis is effective at reducing not only opioid use but reducing pain for individuals who suffer from chronic pain. Cannabis is a natural plant. Again, this isn't just smoking. This could be in topical form. This could be in a tincture. It could be in sublingual. It could be suppository. It could be vaped. It could be oral as in an edible form. It could be many other forms. Don't just assume because it's cannabis medicine that it's smoked. Okay, just to keep that one in mind. So again, we drive on from there. Actually, I just have one little piece there in that, whereas the study was conducted on the largest global population of federally legal medical cannabis patients whose medical cannabis and opioid use were tracked. And Australis, the Dr. Jason Dyke, who's the chief science officer, had this to say. He said, "This study supports what we have taught for many years, and in my opinion proves that cannabis is a safe alternative to opioids." Why aren't we afforded this opportunity here in Ireland? We're being denied this, and we're being forced, the one choice. Here's opioids for pain management, or sorry. Ridiculous. Yes, we need access to cannabis, and the health professionals out there need to be educated in how to work with it too. The bloody stigma around it needs to be undone. And go on, Podge, you legend, with another super chat coming in there saying, "Feed the birds." Yes, guys, I will have some updates actually on Feed the Birds there very soon as well. I look forward to getting that one to you. We'll drive on from there because while Australis have shown this study, we head back to Ireland where there's a Louth senator, a Louth Fianna Fáil senator, I believe she is, yeah, Fianna Fáil, Erin McGrahan, and she is called, supports the calls for use of medical cannabis for epilepsy. Now, in this call, she says that she supports the she supports the calls for use of medical cannabis in epilepsy to be added to the Medical Cannabis Access Programme before it launches in order to make it accessible to people with epilepsy and their clinicians. Now, what I hope she is saying in this, because epilepsy is already actually included in the Medical Cannabis Access Programme, but it is only the form of epilepsy that's shown to be medicine treatment resistant. So you have to use all of the other anti-epileptic drugs before you're provided access to it. So I hope what she's actually saying here is that she's calling for it to be front of house. You know what I mean? If you've been just newly diagnosed with epilepsy, you know, that yes, let's try cannabis for you. Let's see if cannabis is an effective option for you before we go on to some of these more harsher chemical drugs. So I hope that's what she is saying. And hopefully this will mirror, you know, a changing of the tune there from some of the other politicians out there. But it's a shame that they don't go far enough, you know. She's part of Fianna Fáil, like, you know, they're a part of the government that are currently upholding this fucking silly prohibition that's keeping in place the barriers to access for patients. So again, you know, I'd say she's just jumping on the bandwagon, looking for a bit of support. I'd say if you would actually question her around medical cannabis, she probably would have very little knowledge about it. But again, you know, I'm open to correction. Maybe she knows a lot about it. Maybe she's actually quite passionate about it. But to be very honest, what my feelings are about this individual is she's probably buddies with an ex-Fianna Fáiler who's now working for maybe one of these large multinational companies who's looking to set up in Ireland and is looking to sell cannabis medicines to epilepsy patients. Maybe. And maybe her palm has been greased to come out and say this now. Hey, look, go out there and fight for better access, for wider access for epilepsy patients. So when I'm able to sell my product in Ireland, I've a larger market of customers. I would be more inclined to that. Like, I've no trust for these Fianna Fáilers, Fine Gaelers, man. They're a bunch of corrupt individuals who, you know, they don't come out and speak about these things until it's beneficial for them. I've never really seen them to come out and, you know, put their heads on the line for other people. You know, it's only when it benefits them that these individuals actually come out and start saying these things. Like, so that's my feeling anyway, is that she's speaking out for some of these companies because, again, as I mentioned earlier on, maybe about 2 weeks ago in the news, some of these companies like Tilray, who've recently merged with Afria or Aferia, whatever it's called, they're looking at Europe now as a means to making money because, like, as the next headline shows, actually, over in the US, the price of cannabis is declining, and also, like, in Canada also, the price of cannabis is pretty much declining. It's certainly not going up anyway. And this is certainly a reflection that, yes, regulation works. Yes, cannabis was overpriced because of prohibition. And yes, there's competition out there now, which is going to be to the benefit of consumers. Consumers will now get more cost-effective products because there's companies out there that are competing with one another, rather than monopolies existing, or rather than, you know, you being at the mercy of organized criminal gangs who set the price. This was the price chart that's out there showing, you know, the varying types of cannabis products. These prices that are dropped as well largely relate to consumable products or topical and tincture type products as well. The price of cannabis and different extracts as well has kind of remained somewhat steady, but that there is certainly drops there as well, but not as noticeable as the drops in the edibles market or these consumable markets since January of this year. So all of these charts that you see here are from January of this year, and it is based from Washington, Nevada, Colorado, and California as well. So 4 states worth of data here. So again, something to be looked forward to once we see cannabis legalization happen here in Ireland. At first, we will have prices that will probably reflect what the prohibition market was that we left. But quickly, as competition picks up, as more cannabis becomes available, prices are going to start going down. The interest from criminals will go away. Like, why is a criminal going to come in and get involved in a business where the margins are slim? They only ever wanted to sell cannabis and other drugs because there's large margins there because of prohibition. Remove prohibition and you remove some of these scumbags that we currently see involved in selling cannabis out there. And yeah, when I say scumbags as well, yeah, I'm not fucking messing either. This next one, and I'll jump ahead to this one. This was going to be a little later on, but a vile rapist who gave young girls cannabis was recently jailed in the UK. Thank God it's in the UK too. This dude isn't over here in Ireland. Sick fucking puppy, whoever he is. This dude by the name of Daniel Guymer was his name. This individual befriended some young kids, and he was supplying them with cannabis. I don't know, was that the way in which he actually he befriended them? But they were hanging out at a local park where this dude was giving them cannabis, and unfortunately, he not only once but twice sexually assaulted the young girls that he was hanging around with. You would have thought that she would have learned her lesson the first time, but unfortunately, I suppose he hadn't gone far enough the first time. Apparently, I don't know, did he just stick his hand down her pants the first time or some shit? But the dude went straight up and raped her the second time. Horrible. The young girl was only fucking 14 as well. Thank God this is sick puppy got 4.5 years, 4.5 years, 9.5 years for this crime. But again, it just goes to show that cannabis needs to be decriminalized and regulated, because kids shouldn't be out there getting it off of sick fools like this. Literally, that's horrible, man. Hanging around in a park and this dude turns around and rapes a girl. Absolutely horrific. 9.5 years isn't enough either. This dude should have got life, and life should have probably meant life too. Horrible, dude. Man, sick fucking individual. But again, this is just reflects the dangers that girls face out there. Even if these girls were 17, 18, they still face the same danger when they go get cannabis, because most of the times the dealer of the cannabis is male. And there is no guarantee that male dealer of cannabis is not a rapist. Sadly, you know what I mean? Because, when I go down to the shop down below and I buy stuff from the shop, I would imagine that there's going to be an interview process, and a part of that interview process, the person is vetted to see if he has any serious crimes or convictions such as rape. And I would imagine then if a guy was done for rape recently, that the shop probably wouldn't hire him, which is, only right, I would imagine too. Sick puppies. Ugh. But no, we've no protection like that out there, man. Kids are at risk of it all the time, And this guy gets 9.5 years, and I've seen cases out there where people, getting... There was one case that I was looking at there earlier, and it was a guy who was caught with 440 kilos of cannabis or something like that. And he got 6.5 years for his crime. 6.5 years for bringing, let's say half a ton of cannabis into the country, into the UK. 6.5 years, and you get 9.5 years for going out there and literally fucking raping a young girl, ruining her life. Literally, that girl could be suffering nightmares for the rest of her life. She'll never probably be the same again after that, most likely. I can't imagine how a person could be raped and it not drastically alter how they live life then afterwards. And this dude only got 9.5 years for it. Sick system out there, sick bloody system. And we go from that then when we hop back over to the north of Ireland, where in the north of Ireland the PSNI have with in conjunction with the Gardaí, intercepted €1 million worth of cannabis. No, I don't know actually, is that the Gardaí's valuation or is that the PSNI's valuation? It was about like £900,000 they were saying. But above in the north, they actually value a kilo of cannabis at around £10,000. Whereas down here in the south, we're at about like 17,000, is it 16 or 17,000 pound? So I don't know whether the PSNI just team up with the cops down south so they can increase the value of their seizure or what the crack was. But this happened above in the north anyway, where as part of a multi-agency operation that included air support units, dog units, tactical support groups, man, you name it, they had it. But they were just short a few army tanks like above there by the sounds of it, because the war on drugs was in full effect above in the north. Where during the course of the operation, the cops found the €1 million worth of suspected cannabis and £1,000 in cash. The Detective Chief Inspector Richard Thornton from the PSNI Organised Crime Unit said during this Wednesday's operation, as officers stopped the van to speak with the driver, he exited the vehicle and initially made out on foot but was quickly arrested. While carrying out a search of the van, we recovered the suspected cannabis with an estimated street value of £900,000 and £1,000 in cash. The Mail is currently helping with ongoing inquiries. So the dude is snitching. And the cops have just said it. He's helping with the ongoing inquiries. Dude's a rat. He's going to get killed now as soon as he leaves the station over him. But over the course of the evening, the partner agencies identified 4 drivers for prosecution and issued fixed penalty notices for 4 other ranges of offences. The suspected cannabis with an estimated street value of £900 that was seized. They go on to say the multi-agency operation, which was also supported by our colleagues from An Garda Síochána, was an example of our ongoing collaborative work to frustrate and disrupt organised crime groups in the supply and distribution of illicit items such as drugs to the communities of Northern Ireland. But again, they're doing nothing. They're literally doing nothing. So, like, while they got £1 million worth of cannabis here, right, and that was on Wednesday, they also got in other news, £6.5 million of cannabis in the UK, over in mainland UK, in Walsall. So in Walsall, these guys were robbing electricity as well. So who knows how long these guys were actually operating from the property before the cops were tipped off. But they found 6,000 plants on the property that were spread out across 40 rooms in the property too. They estimate the street value of the plants worth about £6 million. So again, imagine being able to do an operation where every, say, 3 months, let's say if they were doing a harvest every 3 months, £6 million. So that you're pulling £24 million out of a building every year. That's a nice old operation you got going there, and you're stealing the electricity too. Crazy, like, you know. But the boys, a successful operation. They go on to say, like, you know, crazy, like an absolute waste of money. The plants are going to be destroyed now. The equipment, you know, that has to be stored somewhere. Somebody has to be brought to court over this as well. In this instance, I believe there was a man in his 40s was arrested, I think. No, nobody was arrested actually. Nobody was inside the building when police arrived, and nobody has been arrested in connection with the drugs farm. It was in the next one actually, where they found £1.5 million worth of cannabis, and this too happened this week. This was only just earlier in the week, like you see the date there popping up on the screen. So again, another £1.5 million. So you have now so far here £1.5 million, the Northern Ireland case, which was another £1 million, and the £6.5 million. So you're talking there almost £9 million worth of cannabis after being seized just this week by authorities in Northern Ireland and the UK. Crazy, like. But the scary part here is, like, look what the dudes had inside in there, and they like fucking a homemade epic shank, like, do you know what I mean? The dude's got a 10-foot fucking shank, homemade spears. The boys thought they were bloody Romans doing you know, getting ready for war. Crazy, like, what the hell were they doing with that? Like, and that's a sizable knife too up in the top of it. Like, the boys having sword fights or some shit like that. But inside in the property, they found almost 1,500 plants, and had to dismantle then a massive hydroponics operation that was set up across the property. They arrested 4 foreign nationals that were aged between 21 and 42 at this property then as well. So again, foreign nationals, quite possibly kind of human trafficking involved here, slave labour as well also. And these people are going to be the fall guys for it now. They're going to be the ones brought to court because the head honcho, to use Sean O'Donovan's word, was not caught in this operation. Sad to think, like, you know, crazy to think what might have happened here with that knife. Like, should the boys have tried to defend themselves? And it doesn't stop here then either, because there was also another raid that happened in the UK, where another 1,000 plants of cannabis with another £1 million value. So here you go, like £10 million worth of cannabis plants after being seized. Sorry for the noise there, that's the boys with their consaw. Look at them, like, look at how many cops are there, like. No, out with the consaw. Fucking noisy thing. Fucking yarn. But look at them, like, there's got to be easily like 25, 30 cops there. Like, those cops are costing, I don't know, like would you say about £100 a day? Like, would you say that's about £100 for them to be out there now? So £100, about 25, 30 cops there. That's about, you know, what's that, about £3,000 there for that they're going to be paying for this operation, probably more, to be fair. Then you've all the vehicles to get the cops there, the consaw, they probably hired that out off of a local firm, probably got ripped off for it as well. Absolutely crazy, like £10 million worth of cannabis now across the week there that's going to be destroyed. How many jobs that could have been created in the growing and selling of this should an adult market for cannabis consumption be tolerated in the UK and Ireland? Madness to think, like, you know, absolute madness. £10 million, like, slap, I don't know, 20% tax on that there, boom, £2 million bloody pounds for the bloody revenue to do whatever you want with it. Go out into addiction programs, into education programs, into bloody fixing the potholes. You know, use the pot tax for potholes. Scary, like, it really is. Like, I feel like just we're banging our heads off the wall here. Like, the headlines, they're highlighting the missed opportunities time and time again, and the economists are not picking up on it. I know David McWilliams done a good piece there on it a couple of months ago now, maybe, when he talked about the missed opportunities in the cannabis market, I believe it was. So again, you know, that more needs to be talked about this. £10 million, that's not a small amount of money at all. And this is just what they're after catching. I would imagine, you know, £10 million, if they're only after catching maybe 5%, 1% of what's actually out there, there's possibly like £1 billion worth of cannabis being grown out there somewhere, and they're not finding it. So we go from there to the final headline of today's 420 news, guys, and much appreciated everybody for all your comments coming through there. Peter Kelly saying a shiv, not a shank. Nice one for the correction there, man. Much appreciated. But the final headline, and I went for something that was a bit more positive. It's kind of positive. It has a bit of a negative beginning, but it has a happy ending. Because the sad beginning in the story is that a father and daughter who are taking care of their sick wife/mother, when she found herself to be suffering with cancer, I believe she was suffering with at the time, they started growing cannabis and giving her cannabis to reduce the need. And again, for opioids, what were we only talking about there earlier on? Cannabis reduces the needs for opioids. Unfortunately, he was doing this in where was this again that he was doing this? Apologies. No, this was in Pennsylvania. This was over in Pennsylvania, where this father, who was also a health practitioner, and the daughter was also a health practitioner. Here's actually the family pictured in a family photo. You have sitting here on the couch is the daughter, on the stairs is the father, and in the portrait next to the mother, and represented also by the absent chair, is the mother. Unfortunately, she passed away, but back in 2014, while she was still alive, they were growing cannabis and successfully reducing her reliance on opioids, which was improving her quality of life before she passed away. Unfortunately, someone snitched them out, and the cops came and intervened and raided the property. And then the doctor here, whose name is Paul Ezel, he lost his ability to practice medicine because he received a conviction for his growing of cannabis. Now, since then, cannabis has been made legal for the very reason in which he was growing it. So he was growing it to help reduce the need for opioids in his wife, because it was treating her pain. That's now legal there. So since then, and here's the happy ending, I suppose, in this. Now at 65 years of age, after being unable to practice his profession for the last number of years over the conviction, he's now since received a pardon from the state medical body that oversees this. So now at 65 years of age, he's able to return to his profession as an eye doctor. And coming up soon will be a hearing for his daughter, who is also a nurse. And she's been too unable to practice her profession because of her conviction. She too received a conviction for her part in growing and administering cannabis to her mother before she passed. And she's going to be up now for a pardon hearing later in the month, and hopefully later next month. And hopefully she too will receive that pardon and be able to get back to practicing her job. In a statement issued by the Governor John Fetterman, who also chairs the Pennsylvania Board of Pardons and is a proponent for cannabis law reforms, he said, here's a doctor of 30 years who had not so much as a speeding ticket, and then his whole life is ruined for giving his wife a medicine that is now legal in Pennsylvania. This is a prime example of the destructive powers of reefer madness. He lost his wife, his career, everything. Today, Dr. Ezel can start to rebuild his life. Cases like his illustrate why we must end cannabis prohibition before it destroys one more life. And I think there was cases that I touched off of here today on the news that also applies to, cases such as the case above there in Newbridge, where the Newbridge man was up above in front of the judge, and he's now forced to go on to these opioid drugs again, drugs which he would have preferred not to go on to. That's what the man expressed, a preference towards cannabis, as it seemed to be easier on the body. It seems that way, and it's been shown to be that way too. So the times will change soon, and I wonder, will, in cases such as these, will there be a case to go back and sue the government, sue the authorities who forced people into this? Like, you know what I mean? They're literally forcing people into this. Like, this isn't much a choice, such as mine. That's not an easy choice to make, to challenge the charges, to stand up and fight for your rights. Because they're literally, as the authorities, the gardai, the judges, they're against you. Instruments of the state, they're there to deter you from standing up and fighting for your rights. So it's not an easy thing to expect people to do. So it'll be interesting to see that when cannabis is effectively legal here, will patients have I don't know, can they seek a remedy for the wrong that was done to them in the past? So that's it, guys. As I said, I like to finish off on a bit more of a positive note there with that. So that is a nice positive one. At least they're righting the wrongs of the past. And I reckon that doctor should not only be getting a pardon and his license reinstated, but he should be getting a nice old sizable check there into his bank account as a sorry. I would reckon double whatever he would have missed out on in the years of his practicing his career, his trade. Should that have been 100,000 a year he would have made, then he should get 200,000 a year for every year he wasn't able to practice his job. Absolutely ridiculous, man. The prohibition of drugs not only taking away people's rights to access to medicine, but taking away people's livelihoods as well. Like, people unable to go out there and practice jobs which would have improved the life for people. Horrible, like. let's get stuck into your comments there, guys. Darn it, thought I might have had a bottle of water around me there, but I ain't got no ishka. Shiting in a bucket, 'tis cruel. I agree with you, man. Very cruel stuff here. It's rather depressing, actually, what I'd be reporting on here a lot of the time on the news. Russell Bant also would be beneficial to drug companies if the Irish government. Sorry, I lost that there as it popped off. Other comments: Peter Kelly, Sinn Féin seem to be supporting Little Collins. Yeah, somewhat. They seem to be giving him some little bit of support, but again, like I wait until see more action there from him. You know, words do very little to to convince me of somebody's support these days. I'm more convinced by actions. Podge says we need a new hand to our country because they can have us lead use for hundreds of years, and what have they done for us, the people? Sweet feck all, man. Sweet feck all. They're only lining their own pockets, man. Queuing themselves up for jobs for once retirement rolls around, or once they're done with their political career. Podge also saying nothing but bleed us dry and want us to leave our beloved country because of the state of things. That's true, man. If you're not going to leave over the bloody economic disparity that's going on here, the loss of jobs that's going on, you're going to leave over the bloody backwards cannabis laws that we have here and head to more liberal places like America. Or even just go to Spain, even over to Spain, even though that's still not legal there, at least it's somewhat tolerated and you can grow your own fruit plants out in your balcony. Yeah, also a way to persecute the lower class and fill prisons. 100% actually, yeah, 100%. And actually, one of the headlines I missed there actually was that, and it was coming in with the UK as well, is that black people are 12 times more likely to be prosecuted for cannabis based on new analysis that was done there in the UK by the UK's Liberal Democrats. They're calling for an end to the use of stop and search for small amounts of drugs. And what they're showing here is that basically if a black person faced prosecution, it was 148.4 black people per 100,000 people compared to 12.2 per 100,000 white people. So that's where the 12 times is. So for every 100,000 people up in court for a cannabis possession charge, I suppose, in the UK, 148 out of them would have been convicted, whereas it's only 12 for every 100,000 white people. Crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. I'm probably after butchering there now. Black people faced 148.4 prosecutions for cannabis possession per 100,000 people compared to 12.2 per 100,000 for white people. That is a crazy difference. And then they talked about as well, you know, the use of the stop and search powers, that if you were a black person over there in the UK, that you're much more likely to be experience a stop and search on the street as opposed to the white people over there as well. And this is something that's not new to us. Like, this has been no secret. Like that, the war on drugs. This is just a tool for their systemic racism that exists there. It's horrible. Systemic racism and systemic bias, I suppose. Really, where if you're from a poorer neighborhood as well, you know, you're more than likely to be stopped and searched because you're poor. Sure, if you're poor, well, you might be drug dealing because you're poor. You need money, and poor people deal drugs to make money. So therefore, we're going to search you. Horrible, man. So backwards. Other comments out there. Hype TCK says the worst thing is his sentence was probably above average. Yeah, probably was. Yeah, that's a 9.5 year sentence there, as you're saying. Yeah, Pat Clark also saying that 9.5 years is going to pass slow once the lads on the wing find out he's a nonce. I would hope so, and I hope so, and I hope so. John Finnegan says, late today I'm tea-thanked to the 7 snotty orphans for the replays. Podge says, destroying her poor life forever, and it's disgusting how things are in Ireland. Peg Clark says, we are €20 a gram all the way 20,000 a box for the kilo. Yeah, man. Um, Other comments. If the dad of the girl gave that man a good slap, he probably have a heavier sentence than the rapist. You're probably right, man. Backwards fucking laws. David Gorman says 25 a gram where I am. I don't buy any more though. I think it went up in COVID. I've heard of that as well, guys. I heard of the price going up there because of COVID. People are getting ripped off. Dealers taking advantage of all of these bloody raids that we're seeing out there in the media. The cops have nothing better to be doing because the pubs are closed. They don't have to deal with all the drunk people out there anymore. So now they're going after us. Irish saying here that a drop of water in the ocean, from what they catch, they get 2 million this week. They missed 50 million. 100%, yeah. I would even say like they got 2 million. They probably missed nearly 200 million. Those authorities are incredibly ineffective, and the criminals out there, the organized crime gangs, they're incredibly resourceful. They know themselves, like, multiple shipments to go through. In that way, in case one gets intercepted, at least the other 5 or 6 will get through. And they only need one to get through in order for them to cover the cost of all of them. And then every other one of them is going to be a massive bonus to where all the profits are going to be made. Because prohibition. Irish also saying here, Garda evaluation is way off. They got their maths from a lucky peg. Yeah. 800 a plant they value it at, or €20 a gram, and they make no differentiation if you got caught with a gram or if you got caught with 10 kilos. It's €20 a gram they're going to apply it. Like, there's no bulk discount there from the boys and the authorities. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, it only serves them in order to kind of create these crazy headlines, because catching somebody with €2 million worth of cannabis is a better headline than catching somebody with 200,000 euro worth of cannabis. So they do like to overinflate those figures just to draw to make it seem like they're doing a better job than what they actually are. Dave's saying here, I heard of people paying 125 for 7 grams of shite. Yeah, I'm hearing that as well. I'm hearing 110 for 7 grams as well. Some people are saying, gone are the days of 75 quid for a quarter, like, or even 50 quid. Monsieur Fudge says, for trimming top buds, that 5-foot knife. Master trimmer, is it? Hype TCK says, I stopped for a couple of weeks because I went to £300 plus, not paying for no good NG that's for mids. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, the quality is definitely dropping out there and the price is going up at the same time. But still, 300 quid, you're paying 300 quid for an ounce. What's that in euros? About 350, I suppose. Yeah, maybe about same as Ireland here, actually. Peds Clark's in here. I got nicked with 118 plants. Half were just rooted clones or small seedlings too young to show sex. I had some 7-foot tall haze plants nearby. Near finished, actually, I'd say that means. 118 plants, half of them just rooted. So really, excuse me, I'm yawning. So really, like, those plants should have been worth like 800 for the ones that were almost finished, going off the court's valuation, and going by what Tony Kyo got there recently, from Kyo's Crisps, about €200 for each of the ones that weren't rooted. You could even argue less, maybe, but it's a case of getting some good barristers out there behind you. That's what he did anyway. Like, if you got good money, you can actually argue the law in court. Only charge it because people are willing to pay it. Yeah, that's it. If people are willing to pay it, then they'll continue to charge it. Price will go down if people aren't willing to pay it, that's for sure. Irish also saying here then that, yeah, it needs that many cops. The cannabis plant is deadly. Yeah, I once seen a cannabis plant attack 2 Gardai walking down the street. Jumped out from behind the bush and scared the shite out of him. Podge 85 saying, worst feeling ever is the pigs kicking in the door Oh man, have you actually had to experience that, Podge? Sorry for you, man. Touch wood, fucking, I never have to experience that. I've only ever experienced them at the side of the road. Oh, I would hate to see them come into my gaff. I rush will shoot you on the spot if you look at a cannabis plant funny. uh, Podge 85 might do a better job than the council effort they do. John Finnegan says Condon is in HD now. That's what I was telling you guys. I got a new camera hooked up there, and yeah, we get better resolution coming through to you anyway. Hopefully, yes. Irish here saying ironic isn't it? Imagine Vera in a few years when it's legal and other parents have zero issues due to her awareness campaign. Hashtag talk to Vera. That's so true. Like the groundwork that's been laid there now by some of the campaigners, and like it's time now for them to be joined by the masses. Because you know, in time to come, yeah, we will be looking back and saying, "Geez, these people did a lot." And I wish I stood up sooner and joined them. Well, there's no better time than today to do that. So get out there and make some noise, you know, organise some protests, organise some demonstrations. We need to be maximising the noise we make here. The squeaky wheel gets the oil and all of that. Like if we're not making effective noise, then we're not going to be listened to at all. Hype TTCK. Think of a few years. Think of a few years when of his salary lost. Be quite a lump sum, I'd say. Peter Kelly saying, "Be nice to have 420 news filled with positive cannabis stories." I can aim for that. I can certainly aim for 420 news that is filled with nothing but positive cannabis stories, but they won't be. They won't be from today. They'll be old. We could definitely do that. Russell Banta, that and Martin's agony aunt section, where he takes calls from the audience, and we can organise that too, actually, where we can take some live calls and at the end of the show maybe do a little call-in section. I have the ability here with the soundboard. I can connect the Bluetooth up to it. I'll just have to get another phone number, because I only have my personal one now. Not that I don't trust you with it, guys. Right, we're getting down through the comments there now. Peg Clark says drug prohibition reform should be a referendum issue. 100% I agree with you there. You're also saying that there would be a massive propaganda push from the prohibitionists. The reefer madness is alive and well in mainstream media. Still decriminalised possession, at least. Yeah, well, I'm getting word now that there's been ground movements going on around the Citizens' Assembly, and that is going to look at the decriminalisation of the drug user. So hopefully that will open up the conversation. And I do definitely think that once the prohibitionists start pushing their propaganda, I think they're going to slip up. I think they're going to show themselves for the propagandists that they are. I think the public won't be fooled by some of the stuff that goes out there, because I suppose in years in past, when propaganda was pushed out, you know, people didn't have access to the internet like they do today. People weren't aware of Vera Twomey. People weren't aware of some of the other campaigners out there, the likes of Professor Carl Hart and some of the work that he's done. You know, even Gabor Mate, another amazing man, done amazing work. So people have access to this information now, so propaganda will be a bit harder now for the prohibitionists to pull off, and I reckon that's where they're going to fall. Once they start pushing out their crazy headlines, the public is going to be more and more against them. Podge 85, hope everyone is good and high, and hit that like button, guys, and show your support, guys, because together we stand as one. Nice one. And Dave O'Gorman saying, good stream, Martin. Nice one, Dave. John Finnegan says, don't be looking for bottles of your water on the ground, Martin. That gets you in trouble. That's true, actually, John. Good memory you have there. Referring to that time I was looking for water and I got caught with €10 worth of cannabis. WRT Gunner, Podge rolling up one now, and some for later too. Nice. I got one packed here, guys. Here's one I packed earlier. um, Russell Banta, or Peter Kelly here saying, pretty hot, Podge, hope you're the same. And Russell Banta also saying, part of the reason for cannabis laws was also to racially discriminate while not being explicit about it. Now it's a mixture of it's more class and racially based persecution. Yep, that's exactly it. It's class and race. You're either poor or you're black or you're both. If you're both, you're fucked. Yeah, and Finn also saying here, so much for Black Lives Matter. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, where's the Black Lives Matter when it comes for fighting for the changing our drug laws? And Podge also saying here that yeah, man, I'm nicely baked to be honest, and Gunnar, and looking forward to later on too. Percy'sGrowroom.com. Go on, guys, head over to the High and Homegrown podcast as well later this evening. I Rush there saying war on the poor and blatant racism. Also agreeing with that. Yeah, 100%. Nice one for your comments as always, I Rush. Much appreciated. Republic of Dave, what's happening, Republic of Dave? The Republic of Dave is saying Ireland has the highest per capita cannabis users in the EU. Over 90% of people are in favour of some form of legalisation, but it's all bogged down because of our inept government who wants to toe the party lines. Yeah, you're so right, Dave, man. The government is way out of touch now with the general public. We've seen time and time again with multiple online polls now. The most recent one being the and outside of the journal was the Red Sea poll that polled people around the decriminalisation of all drugs, of cannabis, or no, sorry, it was cannabis for recreational use, cannabis for medical use, or not at all, or don't know. It was like 40% for medical, 40% for recreational, and about 20% for no, they were against it. So again, like largely, like almost 80% of people were in form of some form of cannabis legalisation. Government are massively out of touch now with the general public, and the younger population are suffering massively as a result of that. Especially the teenagers out there right now. They're at ever more risk now than I was as a teenager growing up, and I was at risk growing up, as I talked about. Like, I was buying kilos, I was buying it off a dude who was buying it off of dudes. I don't know who he was getting it off of. I don't know who he was supporting. I would have seen that guy as being somewhat family, but I don't know who he was dealing with outside of that, and I wouldn't have asked either. Sure, why would you? Like, well, what am I going to say? Like, do you know who you buying that off? You getting that off of the IRA? All right, I'm going to blaze that one up there as I look through for some more comments. Oh, and Finn, you're over in Spain, you lucky duck. Oh, I hope you got some nice strains going down over there anyway. I would love to be over in Spain right now. Definitely going to have to organise an old tour, guys, and get an old documentary on the on the on the cooker. And Finn's here saying that the Spanish Association model is the only way forward. It's 4k or less a box there, and a box being a kilo. So €4,000 for a kilo over in Spain, whereas here in Ireland, you could be looking at maybe 10 to 12,000 when you're buying it on the street now. Maybe 8. It used to be 8. That's what I was paying for 10 years ago. But I would imagine it's probably gone up a little bit now because of COVID, and it could be somewhere in the region of 10 or 12, and dudes are out there then banging it out for like fucking 400 or 500 an ounce then. So yeah, guys, definitely sort out your own, grow your own, form your associations. Fuck the government. Stop waiting around for permission from them. Grow your own cannabis. Protect yourself. We're all entitled to protect ourselves. We're all entitled to self-defense. So growing your own cannabis is certainly an amazing way to defend yourself from the organised crime gangs and from the dangers of an unregulated on unregulated product. Mustawa is there saying, I can't wait for GTFO here. GTFO found a beautiful house in South Holland near Nuremberg, contemplating Spain due to the driving regulation though. Fuck the dragger, 5,000. Can't wait to get the fuck out of here, actually. GTFO. Yeah, I gotcha. I'll have to visit you at the house over there in Holland, man. or in Spain if you head over there too. For Grace saying homegrown all the way, it's the best quality and you're not supporting the black market then. Exactly, guys. I know myself when I'm getting my cannabis off of my buddy who grows it himself. He's got a family. And not only am I helping him cover the bills for the growing of the cannabis, but if he's got a bit of extra cash there, if he does well with the growing, he probably uses that to support his family. What a criminal he is. Like, shame on him. Not. Finn here saying they kicked in my door when I was 17. That is horrible. Was it for you? They kicked in the door for you as a 17-year-old? Shame on them, man. Miss Dowiz says, I asked the HSE, can they provide any testing to find contaminated bud? But they only liked my tweet, no response. Not surprising. Maybe a bit surprising they liked your tweet to even get that level of a response off them was something. But the fact that they didn't actually comment back or message you back or anything, not surprised. They're very unengaged with the drug using community out there. They'll only engage with you if you admit you're an addict and if you try to live a life of abstinence. Irish says, now is the time we all need to be active with actions, not thumbs up or likes on the screen. Boom, there you go, Irish. Now I'm hearing it. Like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that's a great place for us to organise, for us to amass our numbers. But outside, like, we need to execute our actions then off it there, on the streets, in our towns, villages, communities, cities, whatever, like, you know. That's where actions need to be operated. Obviously, look, over the lockdown and stuff, we were restricted heavily, but now it's summer. A massive protest right across the summer is what's needed, and I really hope to see people pull the finger out now. And you know, there's got to be people out there who are whizzes at organising stuff, you know, who are whizzes at making events. Come on, get going. I've put my hands up and said, look, I'm pretty shit at doing it, like, and I'm going to do more. I'm not going to let that hold me back. But I would love to see somebody step up who's actually, you know, that's your background. You've got experience in this stuff. If you've got more experience than me, anyway. Other comments, WRT Gunner, take away the money used for the war on drugs and give it back to the police so they can have a pay rise to do some real police work. Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Irish also saying here, today a young man on acid realised that all matter is merely energy condensed to a soul vibration, that we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as that. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather. Excellent. That's it, guys. Just get back to your everyday life. Don't be out there taking these drugs and expanding your consciousness and touching with parts of the universe that you're not meant to. The government doesn't want you doing this stuff, because you might come away from it more enlightened, and you might walk away from your religious beliefs, like, you know. You might leave some of these things behind you, or you might walk towards them as well, quite possibly. Who knows? Like, you know, it could go either way. Mustawa is, yeah, bro, would be a great resource to prove what's damaging people ain't regular old cannabis. 100%, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. There needs to be more done to set up a testing facilities here in Ireland for all drug users, not just cannabis consumers, but all drug users. Fwetch here then saying, when does Gino's bill come before the Doyle floor, Martin? I believe July or September. I would be probably putting my money more on September, to be very honest. But it could be July, but maybe September. Um, and I don't think that's to the floor. I think that's just when he submits it. Then it actually has to go into that lottery, and then it could take another number of months before it comes up. Podge85 says the richest poor box in the country is the Guards poor box. It does nothing for the country but supports the stupid war on drugs and now using weapons. I'm sorry, like, but we need change. And Ryan Ash says, Martin, 2 weeks ago RT pushed a study that weed was the worst drug for teenagers. Yeah, that's right. Like, they'll always push these drugs, but I just touched off of one there now where they showed cannabis reduced the reliance of opioids. You don't see them pushing these kind of studies at all. So there's an agenda there to what RT peddle, isn't there? And that's why you see a contrast in what you get here in 420 News compared to what you get on RT News. But yeah, it's complete lies. All propaganda, man. They're just peddling a load of myths and trying to get the public fearful around cannabis again, because they believe now that because of the medical use of cannabis, the public have a kind of a view that it is benign, that it's not dangerous at all. That's something you keep getting here repeated there from the psychiatrists and things like that. Oh, but people think cannabis is safe and it's not dangerous, but it is. I'm not saying that cannabis is like completely safe, but I'm saying it's far less dangerous than alcohol, tobacco, and some of the legal drugs that we already allow people have. It's far more dangerous in the hands of organised crime gangs than it would be in a regulated market. But you'll never hear the psychiatrists or the health professionals who speak against cannabis talk about that. Talk about how much worse cannabis is under the control of criminals. You won't hear them talk about this, because then that's speaking against their prohibition. Irish says, don't blow smoke into the new camera. Oh shit, yeah, you're dead right, actually. I'll have to get out the old alcohol wipes there later and my bad. That's probably why the old camera actually is probably all tacky over too much smoke being blown on it. The Republican Dave says the drug enforcement Gardaí are a load of muscle-head wannabes, gangsters hopped up on alcohol and drugs they seized while searching the teenagers hanging around behind the church. Yeah, you're probably right, man. A bunch of fucking power-mad lunatics who, after work, they all meet up at the pub then and drink their drug of choice, like, you know, or who probably take part in a little bit of the old cocaine use themselves as well, if they're partial to the old pint, as could be the case. Just packing up another bowl here, guys, as I'm just towards the end of your comments there now as well. So I'll get one more bowl in there before we sign off. But yeah, Podge saying here, we are not criminals and free the weed, guys. Free the weed, yes. And we are not criminals, 100%, guys. Get up and stand up for your rights. Just don't give up that fight. Hey. WRT Gunner says, Martin, did your local paper get back to you about doing a piece on your charity run? They haven't got back to me actually yet, unfortunately. I probably should chase them up more about it now. And as well, here at the weekend on Sunday, there's a local activity going on where they're running the marathon here in the local park. They're doing a marathon because the Cork City Marathon is virtual. I think I might go down and run it and do it wearing my cannabis leaf cape or something like that, just for the crack, just to raise awareness about the need for medical cannabis access. So yeah, watch the space. Might be something fun happen over the weekend. It might make the news yet. Irush says, plans regarding the bill. Can you throw it on the podcast in detail sometime? We are all on board with information. Yeah, not a bother. Yeah, we'll definitely sit down and do a podcast dedicated just to the bill there someday, very soon. Once I get confirmation as to what's actually in the final bill, I'll do something like that. Paul Lefwick also saying here that some Garda sell drugs. They also take drugs and prostituting and unmarked firearms and monkeys carrying them. Russell Banta says, you think your degree would lend credence to this fact, like. Let's get Martin on the Late Late Show with Tuberty. That's how you reach the age group of people who be shown the truth. Yeah, I wouldn't say no if they wanted me to come on and speak about my experiences on the Late Show. No problem at all. Shining in a Bucket says, I was a lot more motivated with cannabis. Yeah, I've heard of that there before as well with people. Where some people, they just find themselves unable to get motivated for whatever reasons. You know, you could just feel down, you could just feel shitty about yourself. But then, you know, you take a little hit of cannabis and it just lifts you up, man. It does, and it gets you motivated. Everything's better with a bag of weed, as the song goes. A bag of weed, everything's better with a bag of weed. Family Guy, if you didn't know, guys. Irish says, I am a criminal, it's my choice, mental health any day of the week. Yeah, well, that's the thing, like, you know, while, yeah, the fact is that we are criminals as cannabis consumers, we are criminals. We don't want to be criminals, I suppose. So yeah, while yeah, you're saying it here loud and proud, I am a criminal. Yeah, but I would say that too. I'd stand up and say, look, I am a criminal. I use cannabis. So what? Like, I shouldn't be. And we shouldn't be, like, because we're not criminals, really. Like, we're doing nothing really that justifies us being labelled as criminals. Like, fucking corrupt laws that make it so. Yeah, there's definitely the blue wall of silence there, Paul. No guard ever squeals on another Garda, and if you smoke cannabis or have the stigma of even reporting a murder you solve, they just ignore it. Random Clips 444, it really fucking does motivate. Yeah, it does, definitely, if with the right strain anyway. Because there's some strains of cannabis, the only thing that'll motivate you to do is sit on the couch and open another bag of crisps. So it's definitely strain specific, and your tolerance is something to play there as well in that. And cannabis can help people who have traumas such as PTSD there, Paul saying. Yeah, I'd agree with you there as well. And Irish here finally saying, of course, yeah, exactly, I shouldn't have to. Of course, I'm just here to live simple. You see me as whatever you want. Podge85 says, yeah, defo does, and helps me sleep because I suffer with very bad insomnia, and gateway to the fridge is all it is, says Irish. And Kieran, see what's happening. Kieran, welcome along to the show. Kieran saying, you don't need crack and you don't need speed because everything is better with a bag of weed. You don't need crack, you don't need speed, because everything's better with a bag of weed, a bag of weed, a bag of weed. Everything's better with a bag of weed. Yay! Fucking love Family Guy. Great show. Balls up, guys. We're ready to sign off. Get in your last comments there if you want them to be read. I'm going to blaze this one up, and we'll be saying our goodbyes then. Gotta drink your milk. Sorry, I blew that my camera again. WRT Gunner saying, cannabis made me a better person all around. Yeah, I definitely think cannabis can open you up to the idea that, open you up to the better aspects of yourself. I definitely think that some people can be extra hard on themselves at times, and cannabis can definitely help you to be a bit more truthful to yourself. But definitely, for me, I would agree with you there too. I think cannabis has made me a better person, as well, in that, again, as I said before, I was impulsive. I would have been maybe not as thoughtful, and I would like to credit cannabis for enabling me to become a better person. Obviously it took me as well, you know what I mean? I had to engage with the cannabis. Cannabis was just a tool that I used, which helped me, and allowed for this progression to what I believe as a better person I am now today than what I was yesterday. But yeah, nice one there as well, Podge. Great show as always, and thanks everyone, and have a high weekend to you all. Nice one, Podge, and nice one everybody else out there as well, guys. I'll be back again on Monday with some more 420 news for you guys. So do stay blazed out there, guys, and keep her lit. Peter there saying have a cracker, Podge, and great show, Martin. Nice one, Peter, much appreciated. So peace and love, guys. Have a good weekend. Stay blazed. Keep her lit. Peace.